Time for another video here. Last time we left off with finishing up with operators, and there was a lot of them, as you've seen. And W3 Schools doesn't really talk about all of them for C++, but C++reference.com does talk about all of them. And so that means there's a lot of those to learn. How to use them, where they go, sort of thing, which, I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. Anyways, so let's take another quick look at those operators real quick since that was our last video anyways. Go ahead and transfer this over to this. And again, these operators, last time the thing we looked at was the precedence, the order of the operations, what takes priority over what. Just kind of taking another glance at this and stuff, just to see how many different operators there are. We got, here's the descriptions of them. Scope resolution, suffix, postfix, increment and decrement, function cast, function call, subscript, member access, prefix, increment and decrement. So it looks like suffix or postfix actually has a higher priority than the prefix does. I didn't know that. So if you put them side by side together and stuff, then it looks like the postfix comes first and the prefix after that. It's kind of like multiplication and addition. Then you got these unary, plus and minus, logic and bitwise, and so forth and so on. Like I said, there's a lot of them. And I have not studied all of them yet. So this is one area and stuff where I'm going to get some more education on learning about the operators. I do know about quite a few of them. I don't know the full definition or rules for each one of them. I don't even have them memorized as far as which one takes priority over the next, but there it is. And we got some notes down here. In fact, we got the operators right there as well, how they're classified into different categories. So yeah, moving on. We last left off in our last video on strings. So let's get started off on strings then. And we have done quite a bit with strings already. But let's see what this has for us. So strings are used for storing text and characters. For example, hello world is a string. A string variable contains a collection of characters surrounded by double quotes, which we already know that. Create a variable by typing string and assign it a variable, a value. So we can simply do that. We've already done this before, but that's fine. Standard string greeting assigned the value of hello world or hello, just hello. Yeah, that's the example it gives us right there. Now to use strings, you must include an additional header file in the source code, the string library. Well, actually, I'm not sure we do anymore. So that's kind of where I'm not sure this is up to date because we've been able to use strings like this. In fact, we've been able to put that in there and then output it without the library. So you would output in greeting and then save that and run that, and it does print up hello. So I don't think that this right here is actually necessary anymore. But we won't know that for certain until we get into this because this is what actually stays up to date. And in that, when they discuss string library, that's actually right here. And then we can get kind of into this idea right here. In a C++ standard library, a character is an object which, when treated sequentially, can represent text. The term means not only objects of character types, but also any value that can be represented by a type that provides the definition specified in the string library and follow libraries. So localized library, input output library. So maybe that's what it is, this last sentence, but also any value that can be represented by a type that provides a definition specified in the string library and following libraries, localized and input and output, which this input and output library is. That's what this is the input and output. Regular expression library. In the strings library and regular expressions library, a character can be of only character-like types, i.e. these non-array types that satisfy the requirements of POD type until C++20 trivial type. So I'm not sure I understand all that exactly. I know I'm reading them, but it doesn't mean I understand it. For any character type, and we can keep going with this, library components. I'm kind of just skimming through this right now. Character traits, many characters. So template class, char trait char. Okay. String classes. I could also be misusing it wrong, or using it wrong, and that's why it's coming up the way it's coming up. I don't know. But at the same time, this may not be currently up to date with the current updates, because if I do an update first, this right here may not actually end up getting updated until closer to the end of the year with the new updates that they are currently putting into C++ programming. I don't know. And I don't think there's any way for me to really find out. If I understood how to read the definition for the library, this right here, I might be able to figure out if strings are included on it, but I don't understand this code myself at all. So, because I know there's a lot of code in here, because just looking at this right here, so first you got all this comment right here. Second, you got, and I know we haven't discussed any of this yet, so this is going to become kind of even gibberish for me. If not defined, this right here, define this right here, if defined, this right here, in defined, include bit configuration stream. So yeah, again, don't know. And I'm not messing with this right here because this is a library that is included. And if I change it, then that means I'm changing this library and my code may not work anymore properly. And until I understand it better, it's better off just leaving it the way it is. And going with, if it doesn't end up working, then I'll add the library in there. Because this next example does show adding the library. In fact, I will go ahead and print out this next example right here. The include string library. And that's the string library right there. Basically just include string. That's the library. And then it has a comment here, but I'm not going to put the, well, I guess I could put the comment above it in between. Include, this is the comment it has, include the string library. And then it doesn't have the main function because I don't know why, but we got this in there. And then we've also got this in there too, but there's a comment for each one. So this one has a comment, create a string variable, which is what this is, and I've got the variable or the statement created exactly the way they would have it, except for I'm still not using the standard or using namespace up here at the top, so I have to include the standard right here. And then the next comment right here, which is print the string, which is what's below right there, exactly the way they have it. Okay, and then there's a note right here. Strings can contain multiple words, spaces, and punctuation. Okay, which is like this right here. So if I was to add to this right here, I couldn't add a second string in here. I've tried that before, but I can add more words to this right here, making this and welcome with an exclamation mark. And that actually still is one single string, just multiple, more characters, spacing, etc. Then we go to the next thing right here, because that was just the string intro. Go to string, see if I can pronounce that, concatenation. The plus operator can be used between strings to add them together to make a new string that is called concatenation. We did this before already too, because we were exploring this with the addition operator, where we create one string first name. In fact, I can go ahead and remove this right here because I showed this example already, and remove all this right here and start showing this next example, because this is something we've already done before, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. So the first thing we're going to do for this example is go ahead and add in a string, call it first name, assign it to John, and they do have a space in here because you want a space between first and last, or between two strings. And then let's go ahead and just simply copy this right here. Shoot, messed that up. Hit the wrong button by mistake. Copy it, enter, paste it, change first to last. Yep. Last, change John to Doe and take out the space. Okay, we've seen this before right here. And then we're going to create another string. That right there. We're going to give this, instead of first name, it's going to be full. And then we're going to have, instead of actually having a string in there, we're going to add the two strings together. So it's going to be first, and then plus, and then last. Like I said, we've seen this before. And then we're going to output that. So standard character out, insertion, and full name in the statement. Control save. And then we should get the first and last name like we did before. Yeah. Where we can't actually specifically add two strings together in one statement. And we can't, and then, so basically what we're doing is we're doing like we've done before and stuff, where we're adding two variables together. Those two variables are coming to one, and then we're taking out one and outputting it. Okay, in the example above, we added a space after first name to create a space between John and Doe on the output. However, you could also add a space with quotes, and we've done that before. So this time we added that right there, and so you've seen all this before and stuff where we're adding it. This time though, they kind of do it a little bit differently. So instead they do this right here. They have the plus in there. They have the double quotes, and they just put a space right there. Then afterwards, they put another space with another plus sign to give it that space. Before, we had the space in another one, and we just basically added three of them together, or we put the space in one of the two strings right there. In this case, instead, we're adding a space to in between two variables. Again, we can save it, run it, and it comes up to be the same thing. Now, append, a string in C++ is actually an object which contains functions that can perform certain operations on strings. For example, you can also man, that word's hard to pronounce. Concatenate strings with append function. So here's a new keyword or a new thing that we are going to learn. This is actually considered a function. Give me just a second. All right, so this would be a completely new thing, something we haven't seen before, but we're taking basically this same context. We're going to remove this right here and instead have dot append with some parentheses and then put the last name in right here. And this would be the same as doing what we've done already a few different times. We need to add the space back into here since we don't have it in here anymore to give space between the two names, first and last. Kind of like just what I said right there. So first and last, and then we're saying names because there's multiple names, even though one's first, one's last. So yeah, I mean, we do it the same way. We just don't realize we do it when we talk about it. So let's go ahead and save this. Make sure this comes out the same way it's been coming out. And yes, it does. So tip, a list of other useful string functions can be found in such and such string function reference. What about in this? What if we wanted to find these string references in here? So does the library actually have, it has template, string, what did it say specifically? String functions. Okay, so this right here is the library. This is not string functions. This is the library. So I don't know if it's actually going to have that idea of append in it. But let's see here. Is there a word somewhere where we can find append? Statements, expressions, concepts, standard name requirements, language support library. We're looking for string concepts, right? String functions, sorry. I was looking for it. I don't see it though. I mean, it may be in there. I just don't see it. Anyways, you kind of get the idea. Now, the append function, that's what we were looking for, the append function. I don't know if it's a keyword or not. Let's see if it's a keyword, append. No, it's not because it would be in the A's right here, and I've already gone through all the A's, and I don't see it anywhere else. What about down here? Nope. Don't see it down there either. How about down here? Nope, I don't see it down here. So where is the word append functions at in here? Memory management, metaprogramming, general utilities, container. Yeah, I'm not sure where this is. Concept names, types. Okay, so that's something I'm going to have to look into and stuff when I have the time. I mean, or it may just end up popping up somewhere out of something else's stuff, and I may be able to find it easier once I get to know it a little better. It is something I did forget about, though, the dot append for adding two names together using the variables. I showed you the other ways I already knew. I forgot about the append, though, option. I'm not really seeing it in here. So let's get back to it. So that's the end of that part right there. Basically, and it's very simple. So, I mean, you have multiple ways of doing this and stuff. I forgot about this way of doing it, but I mean, still. And this may be, I don't know. We'll look into that later. Maybe it'll come to us, maybe it won't. Because I still have a lot to learn about the reference guide here. There's this 26 right there. I was really kind of hoping to find that. Functions. Functions. Okay. Functions and statements. Returning. And I'm looking here. I just don't see objects. Nope. Still don't see it anywhere. Alright, well, for now, we're just going to have to go with it until I discover it or someone else points it out where it might be in there and stuff to get an understanding of where this word is and stuff, and if there's any other words like it or any other things you can use like it. It does say function, though, and I know what a function is, but unless it's built into IO streams or C++, and even if it is, you should be able to find it and stuff and see how else it works, but yeah. Next thing, numbers and strings, adding numbers and strings. Warning, C++ uses plus operator for both addition and concatenation. I said I can't pronounce that word very well. Numbers are added, strings are concate. If you add, I'm going to shorten that concate. Yeah, shorten that concate just because I have troubles pronouncing it. If you add two numbers, the result will be a new number or a number. So if you take 10 and then 20 and then add 10, 20 and stuff, you get 30, so you just get a new result. If you add two strings, the result will be string concate. So the string 10, the string 20, you add them together, you get 10, 20. So that's how you get, I mean, essentially, yes, you are still adding two numbers together. I kind of went over this with somebody else the other day. So if you add 5 and 8 together, you get 13. But you can also say it the same way and get a different result. If you add 5 and 8 together, you actually get 58. Does that make any sense? Maybe not. And it would look the same still. So 5 plus, plus 8 for regular math would equal 13. Add 5 and 8 to get 58. Probably not add. How about instead of add, because, okay, put 5 and 8 together. Put 5 and 8 together to get 58. So add 5 and 8, you get 13. Put 5 and 8 together, you get 58. It's kind of the same thing. So if you're doing the math and stuff, in a sense and stuff, when you do this with the variables, and the variables actually have integers attached to them because these are changed to integers, then you're actually adding two integers together to create a new integer. Strings, you're not doing it the same way. So I guess if you think about that for a little bit and stuff, I mean, it makes perfect sense. It might kind of confuse you a little bit, but it makes perfect sense. So if you try to add a string, if you try to add to a string, an error will occur. And this is something we tried doing earlier where we took a string, two strings, and tried to add the values together. Or this one actually is the variables. So if you take and put this, so int x is 20, and then in that statement, and then and we could do this probably a few different ways to try it out, but oops, didn't mean to do that. But first name plus x, because we're trying to add two variables together, you're getting an issue right here. And it's pretty much telling you that the operands don't match for this to work. No operator plus matches these operands. So it's kind of saying that this right here, it doesn't know what to do with it. It's trying to add two things together, and it's just not working. So that is one way it won't work. What if we tried the append option? X. Yeah, we're still going to get an error. Alright, so the only way I know of adding a string to, or an integer and a string together, I'll go ahead and put the last name back in here. So that fixes that. The only way I know to add them together and stuff, and it's not really adding them together exactly, but put them together in the same line. Full name X. You probably want to put a space in there, but you're going to be putting them together in a sense, because you're going to end up getting John Doe 20. If you want to space it out, then you'd have to end up adding a space in there. And then you get a new result right there that way. But you're not really adding them together. You're just kind of putting them in an output together. So you're just tying them all together in an output. That's all you're doing. You're not really adding them together. Okay, so time to move on to the next thing, because we fully understand that. I know any integral type, so int, double, float, those are all considered integral types, and you can add any one of those together. But if you change the type from a integral to a non-integral, then you can't add integral and non-integral together, which is what those are. All right, moving on. String length. To get the length of a string, use the length function. So, and this is where I want to know where these right here are. So we got the append. Let's go ahead and clear this out right here. Change our comments here. So we got the append function, and now we're adding another function, length. I can't remember. I know HTML goes through stuff like this too, because you can do the same sort of stuff with HTML. Dot whatnot. You can do the same thing with HTML. I just don't remember how. And it is saying that this is a function, but finding this function right here, because we're only knowing of two right now, and I'm sure there's an entire list of functions you can do. But these are already predefined functions. So where would you find that in this? So I've taken this journey before. I never realized to look through this for this right here, because I didn't know about this at the time when I took this journey the first time. Being that this is the second time and stuff, I'm realizing that yes, this is something new and stuff, and I may want to look into this, because I would like to maybe know how to access these or know about these, so I can do this sort of stuff with these. But there may be more of them and stuff, which would give me more ability to put my code together. So let's see. When a function is invoked, a function call. So in this case, we are calling a function. This function is, excuse me, is odd. And it's an integer. Here's the example right here, but the function name is up here. Parameter. Wow. My body's going through some funny things right now. So this is giving us a definition of a function and stuff, but I don't think it's the same kind of function we're talking about because this is a predefined, and I know that you can define your own functions with C++. We haven't got to that yet, but since we're using this, I'd like to know a little more about this, especially since this right here is throwing it out there that we got append function, length function, but it's not giving us any kind of clarification. Are there more? What does it actually mean? Sort of thing. So, the parameters such and such either provide at the place of call default. Okay, but what about these other functions? Or is this even called a function? Let's do another search a different way. What is C++ dot append? Okay, what is dot append in C++? I don't know what's going on up here exactly, but okay, so let's see if we can get a better understanding of this. So in C++, append usually refers to standard string append method, which is used to add. So maybe that is in the string library. Even though we're using it without the library, maybe it is in the string library. So let's take a look here. Go back to the string library. It doesn't really have a whole lot. Comments, character traits. Um, char. Basic string char. Nope. I mean, because this right here is not, well, I guess it is. String length. Maybe we could do a search for it. Let's do a search for dot append or append function. Append, string append, right there. Okay, so basic string character type, traits allocator, append. Okay, but that's not how it's being used. So yeah, you can see I'm sitting here trying to figure this one out myself. As this is something new to me. Append addition characters in string, string constant copies the character ch, append characters in range. So I kind of find it, but I don't because I would expect it to be more. What about what if we search for a list of predefined functions? Functions. C++ function, member function. And it just goes there, which we've already looked at this, and this doesn't seem to have the information we're looking for. Member function, non-static member function. Yeah, I'm going to be lost in this one until I find it and stuff, figure out exactly what this is and how this comes up because I'm not seeing it anywhere. Unless I'm just overlooking it, which I could be. Let's see here. Defaulted functions. No. I was really looking for a list. How about the IO string library, since it seems to allow it. I think it's this one right here. Input and output library. String input and output implications, raw string device level, array, synchronized, type def. I'm having no luck with that. That may bother me for a while trying to figure that one out. You see what I know. I mean, there's probably experienced people out there and stuff that can tell you exactly what this is or where this is, or I mean, because these two right here and stuff are gonna really kind of throw me off a little bit, especially since this is using it as a basic and stuff, and I have not found any other reference to it yet, so whatsoever. To get length of a string, use the length function. Okay, so we're learning about this, but we don't see any other place where we can possibly learn about this. So if there's any more information about this, I am not able to find it right now. And it's not just about this right here, but it's about any word that's like this, because it seems like you can use it. It goes along with string, but we don't have the string library up here. At least we were able to use this one. Let's see if we can use the length. So get rid of all this code. We're going to go ahead and put in the string again. Text, or txt, I guess. It doesn't really matter. And then they just got a string of A through Z. Okay, so there's that entire string right there that they have, and then they have an output right here because they want to know how long the string is. Standard out the length of the text string is. That's why it's red. My bad. txt.length and end. Okay, so when we use this right here, we were adding one variable to another. In this case and stuff, we're getting a length. I don't know what these are called. And the only kind of information this can provide for me is that it's a string append function and a length function. I don't know if it's a built-in function, what it is, because I can't find it in the CPP reference. But that's fine. Let's go ahead and save this, run this, and see how this works and stuff. It's going to tell us that the length of the text is 26 characters, which is right because there is 26 letters in the alphabet. We went from A to Z, so that means I also didn't miss any letters in that alphabet. You might see some C++ programs that use size. I've seen size as well. Function to get the length of string this is just the alias of length. It is completely up to you if you want to use length or size. When it comes to string, yes, that'll work both ways. When you are referring to other things and stuff, it may not work the same way. Let me see here real quick. I believe size is in the keywords. Size is not. Append and length, no. Anyways, come to that later. So we can use either length or size, and we can replace this right here with size, and probably I believe we get the same result. Yes, we do. So length or size, they both work the same way. Again, I don't know, and that's kind of confusing too. I mean, two words that do the same exact thing, it looks like to me. And then there's an example of using size, which I just used right there. I wonder if you can do that with, sorry, integers. Int x, assigned 100. So we change this right here to x. Control S. No, that won't work. Expression must have class type, but it has type int. So it's a class. Expression must have class type, but it has, okay, so it's a class. That's why we couldn't find it, because this is not a function, this is a class. You're gonna see me walk through this and go through this and try to find it until I figure this out and like crazy and stuff. And it's, yeah, here, class. Non-static data members include static data members, data members, member functions. Not really what I was looking for. Properties of classes. Properties of classes, layout. Standard layout class is a class set. Okay. Lifetime class, pod class. I'm not seeing it there either. I was really hoping to find it. Anyways, after this video and stuff, I may go and look for it and see if I can find it. And then my next video and stuff, when I do finally find it, share what I found with you guys, because that is kind of curious. Anyways, moving on to the next thing. So we know it won't work on int because this pertains to a class, and as it says right here, expression must have class type. And obviously this is a string, so this actually probably belongs in the string library. I don't know how we're able to use string material without the actual library up there and stuff, but in this right here, it states that we need to have the library in order to use this stuff. But we don't have the library up there, and it is working. If we replace this and put txt up there for the variable, it works just fine. We don't even need this on here anymore. So, and I know that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to some people, especially if you are new to C++ or programming. I know when I first tried using strings and stuff, yeah, it wouldn't work, but maybe some of the updates I've done since then and stuff have changed it to where strings are now coming standard with the input and output library. I don't know. Or maybe they're just becoming standard with C++, and this hasn't been updated yet. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to the next thing. Accessing strings. You can access the character in a string by referring to its index number inside square brackets. The example prints the first character in my string. Okay, so now we got another example. I'm going to leave these up here for a little bit. In the comments, though, and stuff, if anybody does watch this, if you can find these two right here, I don't know if they're classes or functions. According to W3 School, they're functions, but according to uh, something else I looked into, they're part of a class. Actually, no, trying to use it for something else and stuff. I found it VS Code. It was part of a class. So if you can give me some ideas, I'd love to find that right there. Figure that sort of thing out. Because I'm sure there's probably more words like this, just like the operator. This does not go through all the operators. This has all the list of operators. This has all the list of keywords. This does not give all the information out currently. So, yes. Anyways, so we're going to do an example and stuff, and what we are going to be doing is referring to an index number inside a square bracket to access the character, accessing strings. So you can access characters in a string. So we're going to access a specific character inside of a string using the square brackets. And there's this example down below here prints the first character in my string. Okay, so this example right here, standard string, my string. Yep, okay, I didn't think I had that spaced out properly. Hello, and that. Now we're going to output my string, and as it says, there's square brackets right there with a 0 to output. Actually, I guess we need to finish that off right there. Enter the little comment here as we are outputting the letter H, the character H from hello. So we are literally getting this letter right here to print out to the console is what we are doing. Why are we using this method right here? Well, so square brackets indicates is an index for a specific number in a sequence. Best I can describe. Until I go through this or this right here. This may give me some more insight on this right here and stuff, but the best way this describes is accessing a character inside a string. So we're referring to position 0 in this string using square brackets. So square brackets is a reference. The value inside of it is the position on this particular string, which is highlighted up here as well. Y0, we'll get to that here in just a second. Let's just make sure this works first. So we're going to save it, run it, and yes, we get the letter H. So anything that's being referenced, the very first character of anything inside the parentheses, or even if it's a number, the first character of the number is referenced as 0. If we were to change this to 1, we would actually be referencing E. E would be 1, where H is 0. Think of it like this. The computer does not ignore the number 0. So and since 0 is not actually a negative number, that's where your count starts, is at 0. So when you're referencing this entire string right here, 0 has to be in there because it's actually considered a positive number, not a negative number. So then it would start with 0. In fact, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, good, right there. So it would reference this right here. It would be, let's see, actually, let's go back a couple, and delete one more. There we go. There we go. It would be in this order, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put that in there completely wrong, didn't I? 1, 2, 3, and 4. I said it right, put it in there wrong. Okay, so H is 0, E is 1, L is 2, the other L is 3, and O is 4. So is what you would put in that place right there. So if we were to delete this and stuff, we would have one of those numbers to indicate one of these letters in that order. If we wanted 4, obviously we'd get O. Save, print, you get O. Why is this useful? Again, we are just seeing it as basics and stuff we know it exists. So it is something we can use if we find an opportunity for it. Now, we will run into many examples later on and stuff of how this works together, how you can use it in code, so forth, so on. We just haven't got to that point yet. This is all just the basics. So, next thing, no, string indexes start at 0. Yes, I just told you about that. The example print second character, well, we already just did that right there. I pretty much have that well explained right there, so that I understand it, you understand it. It's seen in my head better. Second journey, and getting a better feel for it. To print the last character, so you can do something else with this. They show printing the second character by putting the 1 in there, because obviously it starts with 0. But now to print the last character of the string, you can use the following code. So they're going to change it a little bit on us. So it's, I mean, we can obviously, we've already done the last character, which is 4. But what if it is a long list? So let's say we have hello and welcome. And we want the last character, but we do not know what the number is on that. So we want to print up the last character, but we do not know how many numbers are in the sequence, and we don't feel like adding it up. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to erase that, put in, we've already got the string in there. We're referencing a position, the position in my string. This is how you would actually say it. So we're referencing my string, the position in my string. And that's how this is. Otherwise, position 4 is what you would say. And that's what we were putting in there. But position in my string length, trying to say this exactly as it should be said and stuff for the way that's being typed out here. Total length, and go to the very last character. 1. This is pretty much how you're saying it. So you're saying, we're going to print my string. Nope, we're not going to print my string. We're going to reference a spot in my string with the square brackets. So we're going to reference a spot using the square brackets. We're not printing up my string, we're printing up a reference spot. But the reference spot is now going to be my string length, the last character. That's kind of the sentence that's being used with all this right here. My string length, the last character. We have this in here, so that's why that's not looking right. If we do this, go back, delete, sorry, there we go. And then save, print it, we get the last character. You want the second to last character, instead of having to count them all out and put them in there and stuff. If we want to start from the very end of a long string, we can do that. If we know how many characters there is and stuff, we can just kind of count them as if it's right here. Otherwise, we're going to have to continue going through this and stuff. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we continue on to 10, and then it doesn't fit anymore, so you're thinking that 1 is W and 0 is E, and that's not the case anymore. So with the subtraction in there, or with the minus operator in there, you are actually doing it this way instead. 1, 2, oops, 2, and it's a little harder to actually put it in this way. 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's how you're doing it. So we're counting it backwards. So if you want the second one, Control save. Second one should be M. We print it up, we get M. Now, can you put a positive spin on this or positive sign on this? Yes, you could, but what's the point of having this all in there and stuff? All you need now at this point in time is just whatever number it is, but we don't know what number it is. So let's say we want position, first off, positive, and we want the 12th position. So it should count clear into 12 at this point in time. Should. And it gave us some mess here. Probably because I'm putting two together. So I think I would actually have to get rid of this right here, since we're doing positive, because I don't think it'll do positive that way. We saved it. Yes, we're getting L. So the L in welcome is the 12th position. So we can't put the positive in there, but if we want to go negative, we need to put the entire string length in there, subtract -1. What's that one? Would we put -0 in there? No, because again, -0 doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as a -0. It's always a +0. There's a -1 and 2, but 0 is always positive. Okay, enough with that. Moving on. So now we know how to get the last character, the first character, go through it in any order we want to. I still would like to know about this whole length and append thing. Change string character. To change the value of a specific character in a string, refer to the index number and use single quotes. Okay, so now I think what we want to do is change something in this. So we're going to keep this, but we're going to get rid of this. There's no point in having this in there anymore. No point in having this in there anymore. Or this. We don't need this either. So we're going to make our code a little bit cleaner this way. But let's go ahead and shrink this down. We can make it back the way it was, but for this example that we're going to use, this is just going to make sense. Okay. So what if we want to change a specific character in this? So instead of it saying hello, and in this example, it's going to say jello. So we're going to add another line here. My string position 0, and we're going to change that from what it currently is to a J. But you're going to use a character, so you got to have that still, J. And then we're going to close that statement off. Then we're going to save it. I'm going to run it, and it's going to print out jello. Can we do it for an entire thing though? So let's see, instead of, we're going to have hello and bye. So we want to change bye to welcome. So first we're going to have to figure out where that actually is in the thing. We can get the size of it easy. Dot length. We know it's the last 3 characters, so that right there first. Control save, enter. So it's 13 characters long. We want the last 3, so the last 3 positions. This is going to be a little bit more tricky. So the last 3 positions will be 11, 12, and 13. So 11 is going to be the B, so we're going to change this to a W. And this is a lot of work just to do something like this. My string reference point, nope, not insert, typing the wrong keys in there. 12 is going to end up being E. Now, I don't know if there's actually a way to do this to where you can just replace the entire length of goodbye with welcome. I don't know. But we are kind of playing with this right now, so this is something you can do. It's just kind of lengthy. We might find a better way to do this later on. And then position 13 with L. Right now, that's all I know how to do. I don't know how to because I don't know if we can add more to it or not. But right now we can add this in there or change those three characters, that right there. And now we can sit there, and since we know the length, we can take this back out and save that. We can run it. So no, I didn't work. Position 13 didn't change it. The L. So it's 13 long and stuff, but it's actually only 12 long because it says 13, but it counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reference positions are 0. So there is actually no reference point 13 in here. That's actually 12. So we need to change this to 12, that to 11, and that to 10. And then run it, and then we get the WEL. Just to see. Let's see if we can get the rest of the word in there. I don't think we can, but my string, because we didn't manage to add the L in there last time, so I'm going to already say that's no, that's not an option. We wouldn't be able to add any more characters to it. If it was possible at position 13, it would have already added the L in there, and it didn't. It was just replacing the letters. How is this useful? I'm not sure. Again, I can see if somebody writes an email or maybe a message in somewhere and stuff, and you want to change out some of the letters. So, and that's very common. You go into any kind of messaging system right there and stuff, and you are typing in words and stuff, and you type some words that are inappropriate or something like that. You can have it set up to where each position of those words are being changed to asterisks. So we change goodbye to asterisks in this case. I'm not sure exactly how you would go about doing all that, because it's going to have to determine if those words even exist in it. And then when instead of saying goodbye, it's going to have 3 asterisks in place, right there, like that. So we have a concept or an idea of how it might be done. We don't have the full program of how to change a word that somebody types in, and when they hit enter, it doesn't actually type in the word. The compiler sees that word and says, no, this sequence of words put together like this is not allowed. So it replaces that word with asterisks or whatever symbol you want to use. Most of the time it is asterisks, but yes. And I'm sure everybody's seen that quite often. So I'm sure there's many other uses for this too. So this could be a very, very good way to write in a password. When somebody puts in a password and stuff, it doesn't actually accept the password. It accepts random characters or rearranges it and stuff to where you sequence the first, second, and third of positions. Let's say 3, position 3, position 7, and position 11. Okay, and it may do a search for those positions and stuff, and if those are actually the proper characters that are meant for a password, then yes, they have access to whatever. But they wouldn't know what positions you're searching for, or you can change those positions, but they're going to still have to put the same text in as the password in order to get through. To where if they miss a space, it doesn't work. If they try to, who knows? There's a number of things you can do this way and stuff. The limits are limitless. The options, yeah, whatever. So, moving on. So we know how to change letters in a string now. The at function. The string library also has an at function. That gives us a little bit more clue that all these functions right here are actually in the string library. Use facet. I bet I'm going to find it now. I did not find it, darn it. Oh, that's so funny. Input and output library base IO. I know it's in this library now because of what that said. I mean, unless it's lying to me, it could be, I guess. Um, I'm looking to see if I can find it. I am kind of obsessed with this now because it's something I want to learn. But I'm still not seeing it. Let's see here. Is there any part of this library right here where my character traits? It does mention something about character traits, but I'm not seeing expressions. Standard library. Nope, not seeing it anywhere in there either. Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. I know it's in this library, but I don't know much about this library really. Related to library text processing library. It might be an old part of the library. Yep, still not finding it anywhere. Characters, yeah, like I said, I may look for it later. I may never find it for a while, but it is what it is. Anyways, I know it's in the string library because right here it does say that the string library has an alt ANAC class function. Let's see here. I am just curious. You see me going through a lot of stuff right now just to try to figure this simple thing out. This is the library right there. Control save definition. Let's see if we can find anything here. Hey, this is a big library too. Characters. We haven't gotten into any of this stuff yet. I know what these things are, but we haven't gotten into this stuff yet. Traits, self-erase. Nope, nope, nope. I'm not seeing it. Still not seeing it. Just not seeing it. So finding more words like this and stuff, I mean, besides what this is giving me right here, I don't know. I'll just keep going through and stuff. Eventually, maybe I'll find it. This one says a list of useful string functions can be found in this reference right here. Maybe that's what I need to do. Find, instead of looking in CPP, under this library, maybe find the string library reference, because that shows a lot of them, and that's what I'm actually looking for, but I was looking for it in this right here. So what if I look for string library C++? I don't know if that's it or not. CP C++.com reference string. I don't know. W3 schools. It looks like Cherno has it. How strings work in C++. Yeah, He has how they work. He doesn't have what I'm looking for. String library reference.net. Is the same thing I've already gotten opened up? Yes, it is. Character string, yes. And it doesn't show this list that I'm looking at right here, so that's not it either. Let's see if this one is it. Nope, nope. Append, string at append, assign. It looks like all this right here is it. Remember functions right here. So if we go to this right here, and there's kind of the idea of it right there. They're not using it the same way we just used it, but, and I do recall seeing this right here in, so this is part of 98. I do remember seeing that right here in this. Where did I see that? This is a string library. Okay. That's the view. Let's see what this does. Traits, basic string, operators, again, empty. I think that's the full definition for it, as the code is. It's not really what we're looking for, though. Traits, what was this first one here? Okay, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish this up right here. But yes, we kind of found it right here, as well as right here. I don't know if this is all of them or not, but we kind of found it. So we found a couple different ways of finding it. I was hoping to find it in there, but it's fine. We found something for it anyways. Let's go ahead and go back to where we were at, which was clear up here in strings. And we were at access in the at function. Okay, so the string library also has an at function that can be used to access characters in a string. Okay, so hello world, we print hello world. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this first. We don't need this in here anymore. Let's go ahead and remove this right here. Actually, no, we're going to keep that one right there. We're going to get rid of the rest of this. We don't need all this string in here, so we can go and get rid of part of this. There we go. And go ahead and type this example in just the way I have it, and then I'm going to end this at that point in time. And we'll pick up on special characters after this. So string, no, not string, output, character output, my string in that. Then we have a comment here, outputs the string hello world. Obviously, we've been doing that already. Because I'm not sure what this is getting at. So then we got the same thing we've been doing here. So standard, actually, I'm going to go back to here because we're going to continue using this. So we're printing up string first. Let's go ahead and add in the fact that we're going to add another line after that. So new line. So we're not jumbling this all together. Let's go ahead and delete this. Put another space in there. Add in my string again. This time at position 0. So this is kind of referencing the same thing. We're kind of doing the same thing here. New line, my string at position 1. And then again, my string, this time at position, my string length, position, at the end, -1. New line. And then the next one is going to have us do, because it's the comments and stuff are the same thing. So we're doing exactly the same thing as before. We're outputting first the string, then the character at the first position, at first position. So you got length you can use, you got size you can use, you got the square brackets you can use. This is just kind of showing you different ways of doing kind of the same thing over and over. Access or print out the character position 0, character position 1, the character at the full length -1 position. The next one is my string. No, we are redeclaring. Sorry. So we're going to end this one right here with that. Enter. Delete. Enter. And then we are going to redeclare that first position character again. At position 0 it's going to be J again, and J, and then we're going to re-output it again. Standard output my string to get the new output since we're changing a character. So this is just demonstrating the same thing again. So we've used append, length, size, square brackets, and now we are using at. All pretty much do the same thing. This one right here basically just adds another string to it if you want to add two strings together. You would put the first string's variable in front, dot append, put the second string inside the parentheses. I'm sure if there's more strings and stuff, you would constantly kind of lap that over and over again. If you want the full length of the string, this right here, which would print up the full length of the string, 26 characters. Size would do the same thing. Not sure why we have two things for the same meaning though. If you want to find out which character is at a specific position, you would do it this way. If you want to find out what it is at the end and stuff, -1 position, because you don't want to count all the 26 positions or all the 50 positions there are. So -1, -2, -5, -10, whatever. Use the square brackets and stuff. Put my string in there, put the length in there, -1 position. If you want to use the at option, you're going to kind of do the same thing just to make sure this works though. Let's go ahead and save it, print it. I'm pretty sure it's going to have the same output. So we got hello for the string right here at the top. For the first position, we got H. For the second position, we got E. For the last position, we got O. And then we change the J in the first position and stuff, so we get Jello. So again, yes. Number of different ways, pretty much doing the same thing over and over. Is this useful? I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference between this and this, since it's both printing up the size of the string or the length of the string. I don't know if there's a difference between using this and using this, since you are pretty much wanting to print out the character per position, depending on the position itself, in different ways. Sort of thing. So that's pretty much the end of this. Next video, we'll go ahead and start up with special characters. But yeah, this video actually went a little bit longer than most videos do, and that's mainly because I was searching so much for that reference and stuff on all these, because all this talks about is these 5 right here. We found the reference for many more. We didn't find it anywhere else except for here. So far, you can Google it. Apparently, there's a way to Google it and find it. So I don't know if it's actually in that reference thing or not, but it doesn't matter. We found it. So I may go through and look through not recording or making a video. So, but yeah, until next time, I hope this was helpful. I discovered more along my second journey of this right here, and I'm getting more used to it, obviously, because I'm doing this a lot faster and understanding it a lot more. This I understand. I just forgot about it, and I don't know about the rest of them. So more I have to learn. More work for me. Yay. All right, enjoy.